hearing. I know. I think,
Eight?
what, 8 inches? Are
She's
you-
ready when you.
This sounds like a joke that might be a dirty joke.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
Remember, we're on TV.
I don't do that stuff. There's too many Me Too things stuff, right? You all set, Aaron? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting for January 24th, 2018. In compliance with the Commonwealth of Mass open meeting laws, we are being video and audio taped. We're going to have a delay here at the beginning. We have the first 3 public hearings that have asked for a continuance. So what we're going to do is open up the public hearing continuance for 6 Sherwood Drive and move that to our next meeting date, which is February 21st.
Michelle, you're not available on Tuesdays?
Let me check that Tuesday and see. I think that's February vacation week. It is.
It is, yeah.
The 11th is?
Oh, the
Which,
20.
that whole week is February
21st.
vacation. Yeah, I'm not available that Tuesday.
Not available, okay. You're available Wednesday, the 21st,
Yep.
though?
Yes, I am.
Okay, could someone give me a continuance for 6 Sherwood Drive to February 21st at 7 PM?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Did we open that already?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
open 4 months ago. It's been open right here. We have a endorsement needed for 18 Union Street site plan that was voted approval about a month ago or so, I think, at our last meeting. So now I want to have a motion to endorse the plans, the Mylars to be signed for 18 Union Street.
I move that we endorse the approved plans for, where are we, 18 Union Street.
Second,
Second?
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we can sign those in a few minutes. We don't have the next public hearing for a few minutes, so why don't we take a look at the minutes of November 29th, December 19th. Our secretary is Kevin, right, Kevin?
Sure is.
All right,
All right, so first, I move that we accept the minutes for November 29th, 2017, as reviewed and amended already, correct?
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Very good,
Abstain? So I wasn't here.
okay.
Next, I move that we accept the minutes for Tuesday, December 19th, 2017, as they've already been amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Did we catch the absent here? Yeah, okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, so that being said, I think we're going to recontinue the public hearing for 194 Main Street. Applicant has requested a continuance, so I'd like to have a motion to continue this public hearing until February 21st at 7:05.
So moved.
For a second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Gleason, I think we're going to take a 10-minute break and get these things signed and come back on at about 7:25, okay? Cranberry Heights that has asked for continuance, so I will need a motion to continue the public hearing for Cranberry Heights to February 25th at,
21st.
21st, I'm sorry, at 7:15, is it?
7:10, that would be the next one.
15, yeah.
We got 7,
7:15?
7:05, we can go 7:10.
Yeah, that's fine.
7:10, okay.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have on the agenda a bond request for Fern Ridge Estates, and Mr. Petrosi has called and asked for continuance on that, so I would like a vote from the board to continue the request for bond reduction and open space modifications till our next meeting on, again, February 21st at 7:20.
Is that a public hearing? We have to vote on it?
No, but Rich wants us to vote on it because of a time
So moved.
consequence.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that's set. Cranberry Heights. Rich, do you have, you want to go over your town meeting, the town planner report now, while we have some time, while we're getting ready? Any things to discuss with us?
Well, I didn't really list anything out, so
Anything in,
in general?
yeah, now that they put that on the agenda.
Well, I was at the Board of Selectmen last evening and discussed with them of participating in the Complete Streets program. And I went on the Mass DOT website, and Ray had originally registered the town, but then didn't carry through the whole process. So what I suggested to the selectmen that we continue through the process of doing Complete Streets. The Complete Street program, I don't know if the board's familiar with it, but I can just summarize it quickly. But what it does is, when you look at transportation, and it's vehicular, bicycles, pedestrians, mass transit, you want to look at how you design your transportation system so there's parity among all of them, as opposed to preferential for one versus the other when you look at design. And so what would happen through the program is the selectmen would have to adopt a complete street policy, and then you go to the next level where you put together a prioritization plan. And the town went through the process a few years ago to put together a sidewalk priority plan. So all of that work would be incorporated into this prioritization plan, and then there'll be other things that we'll take a look at. And ultimately, what it gets at the end is there's money available through the state to do projects that the town would like to do when it comes to transportation. It could be a new sidewalk, it could be traffic calming measures if there's a particular area that there's concerns with speeding. So it's a program that Mass DOT offers that we're going to, on recommendation, the board agreed to pursue. One of the things we'll do is come back, I'll present it to the planning board. If you so inclined, as we get further in, we'll get more into the details, but if the planning board wanted to adopt the complete street policy, well, it would be nice to do so in support of Board of Selectmen, but that'll be forthcoming. The first step is to submit a letter to Mass DOT that you intend to adopt the policy, then go through it. So we talked about that a little bit last night. The other thing that I left, but then Jack did mention, we met with the MBTA, and they're going to be putting in a second track from Rockwood to Walpole, and they're working on doing that. There'll be some signal improvements along the way, and the goal of doing that project is to help with the congestion, with the rail traffic, and be able to kind of off-split it to be able to do that. So it just,
Good.
for right now, it just goes to Rockwood Road, and then subsequent, and it's a ways out, they'll then want to bring it to Franklin, but
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
limit of it right now, so they'll be starting that. And one of the things we did talk about at that meeting was that the quiet zones that we have now, that'll be something that'll be on the town's responsibility to apply to the Federal Transportation Agency to continue the quiet zone. So they just wanted to give us a heads up, just so I'll let you know what's going on with that.
Go back to complete streets for a minute. Let's say that down the road, the board decides it's a good thing to do and adopts it, and these folks come in for Norway Farms. How would the street design that we just approved be different in the future if they were to come in, next, after it was adopted?
With their subdivision?
Yeah, how would that street look different?
It might not actually look that much different, looking at the regulations that we have in place already, because, you address sidewalks, you have, it's a cul-de-sac, so it's a short little street. The only thing, probably not much of anything.
Okay, what would change in a street design then?
With new subdivisions?
Yeah.
Probably not much, actually. The only thing the good consideration depends on the size of the project. So the interconnecting streets where they come into a four-way intersection, you might consider, and some communities are going to this, instead of, how we have the roundabout in town center, they put in mini roundabouts in smaller subdivisions with a four-way intersection, so it kind of controls the traffic and it goes slow, and you don't have to have a stop sign. And so, we might consider those kind of things as part of the subdivision. But what we'll do is when we get into it, we'll have, so we end up hiring a professional transportation engineer, putting the plan together, and we'll go through some different examples of how it might
Yeah,
affect
okay.
some design.
What I was looking for is, would it change the width of the paved area? Would it require sidewalks on both sides? Those type of things.
Yeah, it's going to be, so the whole basis with the complete streets is really take a look at the conditions of where you are. So you're going to make considerations like you do now with design,
Yeah.
and look at all different aspects of the roadway design. And I think, I will say generally speaking, the movement is to try to reduce lane widths to slow traffic. For many, many years, traffic engineers would design roadways to be much larger travel lanes, which actually encourages people to travel faster. So, I'm not, you're talking 10 feet. That would be the minimum.
Yeah.
But in some cases, they vary. They might be, 11, 12, sometimes 13-foot travel lanes. And you could even, in some cases, what towns will do is they'll put the gutter line, they'll put just a shoulder. So there might not be a shoulder
Right
there,
here.
or they might widen the shoulder
Right.
just to shrink the travel lane and create a little bit extra space on the shoulder. So those different techniques you can do.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
You all set, Rich?
Yes.
Okay. So we have continued Cranberry Heights. I am going to open the public hearing for Norway Farms. And at the same time, Norway Farms have a request for special permit for an scenic roads permit under Chapter 87, Section 3. So I'm going to have Kevin read into the record the notice of public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Planning Board and Tree Warden will hold a consolidated public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 15C, Scenic Roads Act, and Chapter 87, Section 3, in Room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall on Wednesday, January 24th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. to consider the application of Norway Realty Trust for the removal of trees within the street right-of-way to install a new roadway at 33 Medway Street, sidewalk from 33 Medway Street to Crestbrook Road, and an emergency access road and walkway connecting Crestbrook Road cul-de-sac to the proposed cul-de-sac. Information pertaining to these trees and their locations, subject of this application, is available for public inspection at the Planning Board office in Town Hall during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Thursday.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
I'm going to recuse.
Okay, Michelle? Rick, I want to start off with the scenic route special permit, okay?
Sure.
Basically, have you marked the trees that are coming down in the right-of-way for the street opening?
Yes.
They're marked, did they have a ribbon on them or something?
They were marked with a sign by the DPW.
All right, so,
Betsy had put together with the language of the hearing, date, time, place.
so you guys
cetera.
are all agreed upon which trees coming down and which trees are staying?
I was going to go over that with the board tonight.
Okay, why don't you start with that, okay?
Sure. So, there's three areas that tree removal is proposed. I'll start with the easy one, which is at the entrance to the proposed development, right in this area here. There are, I believe, 2 trees in this area that we're proposing to remove. A 14-inch pine tree, actually, it's 1 tree. 14-inch pine tree is proposed to be removed here.
All right, yeah. Is a stone wall there too?
There is no stone wall there, no. If you pan up, we are proposing to remove a tree here and a tree in this area here for the purposes of the construction of the sidewalk. Those trees were marked. We've kept them marked. Mr. Kane is working with the landowner at 29 Medway Street, which is on the corner of Crest Brook, to obtain an easement to be able to put the sidewalk to the rear of those trees, and therefore they would not need to come down. But that has not been finalized yet, so we are still requesting permission to do that, but we certainly do not want to do that. And
Do
then
not
last,
want to do what?
take down the trees if we don't have to.
Okay.
We would prefer to get the easement and
The end of the sidewalk?
the sidewalk behind it.
Much as we did in Holbrook Street, right?
Correct. Unfortunately, we don't control
Yeah,
that area, so we are continuing to work with that. So we've shown that as an option on the sidewalk plan. And then
Yeah.
lastly, this area up here, which begs a little discussion. As we've evolved with this project, Rich has met with the DPW director and myself out on the site. Mr. Riley is here. There's been some concerns with this pedestrian connection, access connection. What we are proposing is for an 8-foot wide walking trail. Based on the fire chief's letter and follow-up discussions with the fire chief, he didn't feel necessary to have the emergency access road there. We did meet, as I said, with the DPW director, and we're proposing still to make the water main connection through that area and then follow it up with a pedestrian access that's 8 feet wide. And the reason for the 8 feet wide, the DPW would like to be able to get their backhoe on that area in case they had to do any work to that. Exception of this area here where a portion of the water main is in and it's really a lawn area. So they were happy with that. So if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I put together a little sketch. I made a couple of.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And basically, the trees in green, highlighted in green, were requested for removal. Those included the 10-inch maple tree here, the triple 8-inch maple, and the 4-inch maple here, as well as these 3-inch oak and pines here. Those that I've highlighted in green will not need to come down if we have the 8-foot wide walking trail. There are 4 trees, which are a triple 3-inch oak, a 6-inch birch, I believe it is, 6-inch red oak, and a triple 3-inch oak, basically clustered right here that would have to be removed. So it'd be 4 trees we'd be proposing to remove.
If it's only 8 feet.
If it's only 8 feet, that's correct.
What was the
So-
originally proposed width? I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry, what?
What was the originally proposed width?
We had started at 20, reduced it to 16, and now we're down to 8. So this is really more of a pedestrian
Yep.
connection with the ability of the Department of Public Works to get through there to do any work to the water main. And I would imagine a police cruiser or a SUV would be able to make it down there
Gotcha.
on an 8-foot width.
You folks have any question on the new size of the easement or the location?
No, it looks like a reasonable solution to me.
And the easement's gonna have a gravel base so cars can travel over there or no?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I certainly am for the less intrusive 8 feet. I know that the fire chief in his letter said he would not use that. I think the police chief did say differently that they would use that if the need arose, and with DPW, but 8 feet serves the purpose. And we'd like to have to take down trees just to get an access way there. So the thought was to meander through there so you take literally nothing down. And I see you did put some curb in that path too.
Yes.
So it looks a little bit more environmentally friendly.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
No, it saves the trees too.
Or save the trees too, right, yeah.
Correct.
Are we replacing any of the trees?
We were not proposing to replace any of these trees. We do have an extensive landscaping plan.
Is
As
it pretty
part of-
forested up there where you're,
I would say there's, more sparse tree placement up here.
right,
Gets a little thicker in here,
okay,
with trees a little denser.
all right. Okay. So there's some screening between the two cul-de-sacs then, right? There's some woods there?
Yes, we have shown the tree line here and here that exists.
Okay.
We will be, cutting that back a little bit for the lot work.
Betsy, do you have the full drawing set there in front of you?
Right.
Full size?
The full
Yeah,
size
no,
picture?
on the computer, sorry. I was just wondering if you could pull up PP1.
Oh, yeah. PP1.
Do you know what page that is?
It's right in the middle. Mm, 13 or 14?
P1, plan and profile one?
Next one. That one, yeah.
Oh, planting plan, yeah, okay.
Yeah, if we could zoom in on the path, the walkway. So the trees that are shown there are existing?
These clusters of trees are proposed.
Those are proposed.
That's correct. That area now is just currently part of the old tree farm. It's just gravel.
Walter, any questions?
No,
Look right to you.
I'm good. Looks
Kevin?
good to me.
Mr. Riley, does this work for you?
Yeah, I think, well,
Start right here.
obviously, this has gone on, starting with a road and has turned into a pathway. I think we'd be very happy with that, realizing the needs. I'm happy that the board was able to talk to Chief Bushnell, because when I had spoken to him, it wasn't a great concern for him, and I realized the whole purpose of this is for public safety. So I think this is a great solution.
Sir, just for the record, would you state your name?
I'm sorry, Bill Riley.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, it's 7 Crestbrook. And so I think that this is a great compromise to take care of everything and take care of that. Can I raise one question just to do it in public? And that is,
Sure.
I realize that there's a need for the connection of the water main, which is actually another benefit to making this connection between the two developments, as well as the pathway that we're talking about now. I have a irrigation system that is in this area. How is that going to be handled as far as before they start tearing into the ground? Is that something?
Irrigation on your land,
Yes.
then they shouldn't be touching it.
And it extends into this area that's part of the easement as well. And obviously, it's all
Right.
connected.
Are you looking for an easement over private property with this?
No, this area that this walkway in the Crestbrook area is in an existing easement area.
All right, so they're not using your land to put the trail on. If you're asking me if you happen to have a sprinkler head that's on where the trail is, then you're probably going to have to relocate that, because it's going to end up being a gravel trail,
All right, thank you.
unless you can work out some other arrangement with the developing person, okay?
Thank you.
Any comments from anybody here for the Norway Farm subdivision, the scenic tree public hearing? Hearing none, you guys are all set with this new plan? All
Looks
right,
good to me,
then,
yeah.
have a motion, we can close the public hearing for the scenic road.
So I move to close the public hearing for the scenic tree public hearing for Norway Farms.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we close it out, and now we'll get on to the subdivision. If, Walter, have you had a chance to read through the comments? There were
Yes.
Follow-up comments
There's only
from
three.
Tetra Tech,
There's really
yeah.
only three here that look like we just need a comment on them, that's all. And it's nothing that would prevent us from proceeding, but it just,
Which comments number?
looks like 21, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Those three comments, the nitrogen field, the lot coverage calculation, setback, those can't be done at this particular point, but it will be in, as the applicant noted, our consulting engineer, that'll be in your certificate of approval.
Number 2 as well.
Right.
That was it, that's all I saw, John. Maybe there's others.
Right.
The setbacks?
The
Where are they? What
setback
number?
line, yeah.
Number.
Basically, they've noted all the things that really aren't done normally at this stage to be
Yeah.
done before construction starts, and that will be in the certificate of approval, because they can't be done at this particular time,
Yeah.
which is customary. The only
Oh,
questions,
yes, number 2, I missed that one, right?
right here, the only other, I had two questions, Rick. One is where you've got a nitrogen loading field here in the snow storage on the swale. That comment with the snow storage on the swale, and the swale is off the road, and the swale has got a 6-foot slope, but I think the consulting engineer was concerned about the salt from the roadway sitting in that swale from the piles of snow.
Correct, but what we had done was we have a
Right here.
4-foot level area.
Right, I understand. What I would like you to do,
Okay.
since this is a nitrogen area, I'd like you to check with the Board of Health agent, Wade, and make sure that he doesn't have any issue with this where it's in a nitrogen loading area, okay?
Sure,
So
and
we double check on that, and,
just to update the board, we have filed with
Right.
the Board of Health for a nitrogen aggregation plan.
right, but I would like to have him look at this specific comment.
Sure.
With the snow being stockpiled in the drainage swale, okay?
Sure.
The other thing I have in here that I did speak with the applicant on, that I have a different point of view than our consulting engineer. It's on number 27. He talks about number 27, there was a barn on a lot. The lot will meet all of the setback requirements for an open space subdivision, and I think the consulting engineer is looking for the bond to be required to stay on that lot in perpetuity. Am I correct in his comment?
Yes.
And personally, if they have a bond there that's been used previously or going to be used continually on for some period, as long as that lot meets all the setback requirements for an open space subdivision, and this is a 14-lot subdivision, and he's paying all the associated fees for a 14-lot subdivision, I don't see why they should take one of the 14 lots and restrict it and have a covenant so the bond can never be removed, although that lot couldn't be subdivided. I don't think that's fair myself. That is item number 27, Walter?
I agree with you.
I mean, it's a buildable lot with the
Yeah,
specs that
yeah,
fit into
yeah.
this, and it's a 14-lot subdivision, so basically, they're accompanying saying of the 14-lot subdivision, you can only build on 13, which I don't think
No, I
is.
think that's a reasonable finding, John.
All right.
If they want to use the barn, fine, but
If they want to tear,
wanna
if they want to tear it down and
and-
put a house, they can do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
I had
I
talked to Mr. Kane about that,
Yeah.
or we met, and, if everybody, Kevin, you understand what's going on?
Yeah,
with
no, that makes sense.
Right,
Yeah, it makes
to
sense,
you?
yep.
So we're gonna, Rich, we're gonna make sure that that's not part of,
Yeah, that won't-
certificate of approval? All right?
Yep.
All right. Why don't we, I think everything else in this review from Tetra Tech has been addressed and all agreed upon, Rick?
That's
The-
correct.
The last thing I want to do on the plan we have here is I want you to go over the waivers requested, and I want to make sure the board understands the waivers, the reason, and we can get that issue out of the way, okay?
Sure. Would you like to go through the waivers? So we have provided a list of requested waivers, and that's on sheet 1 of the plan set.
Yep.
Waiver request number 1 is to not require us to complete a traffic impact analysis for the site. It's basically.
Enough said. Number 2,
Okay, moving
I
on.
don't think that warrants discussion.
All right. Right-of-way width and alignment waiver is requested to allow the pavement width to be 24 feet.
Which is the size width of every street in town, just about.
Larger than some.
Larger than a few of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
Number 3 is a waiver request to allow 14 lots to access on the proposed cul-de-sac, which has a length of 837.77 feet.
We addressed that in our open space permit,
Yes.
all right?
Number 4, a waiver is requested to not require 2 walkways within the development. As the board's aware, we're proposing the walkway along Medway
Right
Street.
here, okay?
Yep.
Number 5, a waiver is requested to allow the stormwater basin to be located a minimum of 5 feet from a lot line, 81 feet from the front setback, 50 feet from a building cellar, to allow the rain garden to be located on an easement on the existing lot 9.
Okay.
Number 6, slant granite edging. We've requested a waiver to allow the use of Cape Cod berm to be installed for the roadway edging. As the board knows, we're, proposing the
Low impact.
low impact. So we do have a couple of locations where there will be no curbing to allow for the water outlet.
All right, yeah.
Number 7, we've added a request for the utility plan. We have added the proposed electric, telephone, and cable main locations that we anticipate the utility company will locate the utilities in that area. Again, it's shown on the typical roadway cross-section. The board does have provisions in their regulations that allow or require that the utility plan prepared by the utility company be provided to the board, which the utility company will not entertain preparing that plan until such time as the project has been approved and endorsed by the board. So it's kind of a catch-22. But we certainly have no issues of the condition of the approval that we provide the board with that utility plan in the future.
And I think you just said you also showed where you think they're going to lay it, right?
The main line, I mean, where they're going to put the roadway crossings to handholds for
Right.
each lot, I mean, they're going to dictate
Oh, I
that.
see, but the main line,
The main line is in there, yes.
And your utility banks are not going to interfere with any of the street trees that are placed in the proper spots, right?
Correct,
Because we've been through that with a few other subdivisions.
correct.
All right, so that all works.
Yep.
Right. Last one?
And then the last one, number 8, we've requested a waiver to allow for the driveway culverts to have flared end sections as opposed to stone masonry walls at the ends.
So you're going to have cement wing walls?
No.
Is that what you're
We're not
talking?
going to have cement wing walls. We're going to have a flared end section where the pipe flares out and then flattens out.
Okay,
It flares out, and we'll
I
grade
know
up
what you
from
mean.
there, yeah.
all right, I know what you mean.
Okay. So that's basically the 8 waiver requests that we have.
You have any issues with any of
No.
those requests,
No.
Kevin? I think they're all fair. Right. Right here. In the meeting, we had talked with Rob and his wife about the affordable. Have you folks decided which direction you're going? Because we do want to make a notation on the plan on which lot you've determined for the affordable. You don't need that now, but you will need it before we close. Right, and just so you know, where we've got this affordable house listed, if you decide you want to come up with something after the fact in the same time frame to try to move this off-site, as we mentioned, it's not to say that you couldn't approach the planning board or the housing authority and try to get something, work with them to eliminate this one you've designated, right? But either way, that after the 4 market rates are done, this 5th one, the affordable one, will have to be occupied before the next market rate unit. So I think before you wrap things up, we just want to have a notation on the plan of which one you intend that to be, okay?
If I may, Mr. Weddleton, as you know, we just met Elizabeth Maitland.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry. Elizabeth Maitland representing the applicant. No, we just met with you a couple days ago.
Right.
And whether right or wrong, Mr. Kane had really not prepared for the affordable housing unit. So we obviously wanted to explore the options, which of course we did discuss. And I think subsequent to that, I mean, I think he is practically convinced to have it on site, but frankly, there's been no discussion as to which lot at this point yet. He just hasn't spent any
That's
time
fine.
making
Right,
that
but before we
determination.
close, you're going to have that, come to terms with that.
Okay, do you anticipate closing this evening?
No.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I see.
Well, we still have the common area things still up in limbo, correct? We don't have an agreement on the common area fees and all
Are you
that.
talking about the HOA?
Correct.
Homeowners Association? Yeah, well, I mean, I had submitted that, a month ago
No,
now.
I understand,
And-
but that still hasn't been determined, so
Okay.
once that's determined, I think that's probably going to be one of the last steps.
Okay.
So
Wait.
that would give you till our next meeting, and town council to next meeting, and that would give you till next meeting to designate which lot you decide.
Okay. Well, frankly, I felt that that could be something just like the conservation restriction and everything else is subject to negotiation with town council and whatever they
What could be
agree upon
subject?
regarding the revisions on the homeowners association.
Right,
I think it's
right,
more a
right.
matter of, yes, the planning board is amenable to going that route, and I think once that's decided, it could certainly survive as a condition that it's subject to agreement with town council on the form of the documents.
I still would prefer to have that done. I still would prefer, because we have things we're looking for on that also, and unless people have a different opinion, where we're stepping out of our normal bounds, I think I would like to see the document. From what I understand, it's not a real involved document, and it's been done before, so I think that should be part of the whole process before we close out.
Well, as I say, I did submit it,
Right,
what,
right,
4 or 5
right.
weeks ago now.
I understand.
So,
Can you make sure the town council works on that so we can close this out?
I'll step it up.
All right, all right.
okay. I mean, I frankly very much regret that if that's the only item keeping this open, because I think that is something that can be easily conditioned.
Well, you're
and-
welcome to your regrets, obviously, but basically, we want to make sure the funding mechanism is in that HOA agreement. We want to make sure that it designates the use for the town residents, and we want to make sure that, there was one other thing we were looking for in that, I don't recall offhand.
And you don't feel that that can be conditioned?
No,
Okay.
no. I would like to get this done so it's all wrapped up. I would not like to argue
would
about
too.
something that comes back. We had one with another subdivision, a different easement agreement, that ended up going back and forth and came to us after the fact with things in there that we never even talked about.
Okay.
So just based on that, not to say this won't, but I'm assuming that in the next meeting you can wrap that up.
Okay. As long as town council,
I understand.
participates, I have
Right,
done what I can do.
understand. And you give you time to pick out which lot.
Good evening. I'm Robert Kane, the property owner. The lot down at the end of the cul-de-sac, the last one on the right, on the path going up, would be probably my first choice. There's less yard maintenance. Rick, if you could point that out. And one of the shortest driveways.
Okay.
Usually the lots at the end of the cul-de-sac have, a real high value. Should be a nice quiet area for people.
Okay. Rick just
And-
simply has to put that notation on the plan, that's all. And like I said, if you decide by the time this is underway that you want to pursue the other venue, you're welcome to do it, but at this stage, we just want this down, so if nothing happens, that we move forward on the affordable schedule that we have, okay?
Okay.
All right.
And just if I could ask and reiterate what Elizabeth just said, I find it unfortunate that we can't go forward with closing the hearing tonight in regards that we're coming up on, construction season. We still have to get the Mylar signed and get work out to NSTAR. They're notoriously slow to get their engineering department going forward. And if we delay it a whole nother month, the Mylars aren't going to be signed for a month, and so on and so forth. And we're going to potentially go from, early to mid-spring, potentially, if things go well, being able to break ground now into, early summer. And it's just, I don't know, it just keeps clawing time away.
We're still in the middle of winter, though, Rob. I think that by the 21st, again,
Thank you for entertaining that. Just one other comment. I didn't have a microphone at the time. We had talked about the salt. The orientation of that road has a slight pitch downward, and it's headed in a southerly direction. And there's certainly the possibility that the highway department could use minimal salt on that, especially where it's a mono-pitched road without a crown in the middle.
Super.
So that's something that we could talk to Bob McGee and
Well,
Wade about.
yeah, Bob McGee's not the one, actually. The one that we talk about that would be Wade. Like I
Yeah.
said, well, that's a nitrogen loading area.
Yep.
We want to make sure that the Board of Health, who controls that, and we'll be going over your nitrogen loading plan, make sure it works. That's all we need.
Okay.
Simple.
I thought it was more to do with the salt
For Rick.
getting into the ground, and I'll leave that up to the pros.
Yes.
Thank
sure.
you.
Okay. Any other questions on the subdivision as far as we go? We're all set. All right. Anybody else in the audience beside Mr. Riley here for this filing? Have any questions? Just your name, sir? and-
Hi, I'm Alex Fritz. I'm at 29 Midway Street. I am working with Rob, by the way, about those trees in the front, and I
Great.
totally support his solution to trying to keep those trees in the front of, near the street, 29 Midway Street. So just wanted to make sure that got on record.
Right, maybe you can get that easement language back to us, to them by the next meeting, Elizabeth. All right, just have the whole package done. All right, we will continue this until the next hearing, the 21st.
Do we need a motion to do that?
Yes, we do.
And we're talking about the scenic road hearing here, are we?
That's been closed.
Yeah, okay, so
We're
it's-
just going to be the subdivision.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I move to continue the public hearing for the definitive open space preservation subdivision for Norway Farms until 7/25 on February 21st.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do we skip 7:15?
We give 15 away?
We need to close the scenic road, or did we do that
We
already?
closed the scenic road, yeah.
Let's hope 15.
We'll get it eventually.
I think that we have nothing holding us. We were able to vote on the scenic road special permit, correct? We have nothing else to be done on that,
No.
as far as you know. That's all been marked, agreed with Bob, et cetera? Okay. And now that we know we have an easement too, that helps even more. Okay, so I motion to approve the special permit for the scenic road for Norway Farms.
I move to approve the special permit for the scenic road, plan for Norway Farms.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. That's done. Rick, what other notations do you have to make on the plans now to make them complete?
Bylaws, you have to put the conditions of approval and change the waiver request to waive to the board was so inclined to grant the waivers.
All right.
It's really,
I think you've pretty much got consensus that we're fine with all the waivers. All right. So if you can get your easement thing wrapped up, you can get those trees taken off that don't need to be,
Correct.
move forward?
Yep.
All right, okay.
Yeah, we can change the tree markings that we're actually gonna propose to take down.
Okay.
And designate the affordable, right?
Correct. Yeah, oh yeah, when we have that, we're gonna meet with the Board of Health.
Yep.
So we'll meet with and discuss the nitrogen ag plan with Wade. We'll bring up the roadway salt issue that the chair has requested us to do. We're gonna add we'll work with the neighbor on the tree easement, and we'll add the demarcation to the lot for the affordable.
Okay, great. Rich, since mostly everything is done in this, there's no problem with you working on the certificate of approval in the meantime, as we're ready for the next hearing?
No, that's what I was gonna suggest.
We can get all of, this paperwork takes time and writing the approval. We can get started on all of that and just not physically. Many times we've closed hearings and signed off on the same night with the work done in advance, so we can work on all of that paperwork that's on our end that has to be done. And he still has to approve MyLaws that are executed at a meeting anyway, so
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
we'll do the best we can, okay?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, so next.
You're welcome. Thank you. So we should be able to wrap it up completely.
Yep.
Okay, good. You sure you don't want to connect it to a cul-de-sac?
Let's do what? I gotta do what we're gonna, what? Yeah, what? After all the back and everybody else coming forward? Yeah, I will.
Oh, sorry.
Which, yeah, hot mic. Okay.
It was a joke on my part, you know.
Yeah, hello.
I missed it.
Dear.
Dear, oh dear. Spilled, my dear. I'll go get paper towel.
Yes, dump it off quick so it doesn't get on there. There you go. All right.
There you go, let me see what I'm missing.
Jeez.
That's fine, this is easy anyway. We calling up the,
Let's see.
next public hearing, Betsy? Sharon Ave? Sharon Ave.
Didn't see you.
Can't take them all off.
I would say May. It's gotta be at the front end.
Love
yeah,
these,
they don't
it's like cardboard.
I'm cutting
It doesn't really absorb.
Yeah.
Also spreads it.
To the front end.
All right, Rick, you're on.
Hi, good evening. Rick Goodrow with United Consultants, here this evening with Mike Sosi, owner of the properties at 16 and 18 Sharon Ave. We were before the board a month or so ago, going over the project. Betsy, if you could please go to sheet number 3. Thank you. So just a quick overview. Lot 12, located to the north. The bottom of the page actually was previously developed about 5-6 years ago. The applicant was before the board earlier this year for the outdoor storage area, parking, and the entrance driveway. We're now here for the addition of these parking spaces in the front, and the proposed building, and the utility work necessary to complete that. We have obtained septic approval for the septic system for the property, which is basically a septic tank and pump chamber connection to the common septic force main and leaching area for the whole development. And we've also obtained a permit for an industrial wastewater holding tank for the floor drains located within the garage. Both of those permits were issued by the Board of Health. We have made revisions since the last hearing, and Dave Sanderson from PSC is here. I don't know if the board has had an opportunity to go through. I was pretty excited because I think we got 32 okays. So I think we addressed everything that they were looking for, but that's, basic overview of the project, and the board wanted us to take care of the review comments, and I think we've done that. I'd be happy to go over any of those or any questions the board may have.
Do you have the elevation of the building on there?
Yes.
And have you been through the design review?
They
I'm
have,
sorry, the front elevation,
the actual elevation of the building?
Right.
No, it's not in this plan set.
you've been to design review?
Yes,
I have a
Michael,
hard copy of the plan set though.
do you have the building elevations electronically? Did I send those to you? That would have been early on.
I do have a copy.
Yeah.
Did you get comments back from design review?
Yes,
You
we did
did.
get comments back from design review.
Did we see
With respect to the site
Haven't seen
plan,
them, no. Did we haven't seen the design review comments, right?
I don't recall them.
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing elevations of the building.
That's why I'm asking.
Let me see.
Yeah, those I don't see. I don't remember those.
It's from the
don't
22nd,
know.
I think. What did I say there?
Two-story building?
that's the front elevation of the building.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, we haven't seen them.
No.
These don't look familiar at all.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't got any comments from them. We
Yeah,
haven't.
we have.
Do you have a copy of them? I don't think any of us have seen them yet.
That was a while ago. It was,
Probably in December, I think,
yeah, it
late December.
Is
Maybe
this your
last met
third
December
meeting?
21st.
Yes.
Okay.
It was late December.
was. Second.
Yeah, we met at the 21st, so we probably haven't seen them since then.
Hmm?
We met the 21st.
Rich, would you pass that over to John?
Next meeting?
Take a look at it. Yep, there you go.
December 19th, we met last met.
Those the building plans?
Do you remember your comments, Aaron?
I think I missed the meeting.
Well, I don't know why, it was 3 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
Jeepers, humbug.
And,
So he's got recommendations
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Color. And then the landscaping. The landscaping, right?
So there is a motion.
Or just some shrubs.
I think I remember seeing that document.
I don't recall that. But it was 3 days before Christmas, so.
Right, so on these
I
few
kinda had
things they were
other
looking for, Rick, did you note the building color on the plan? Yeah.
power, yeah, DRB stuff.
So these few notations on the design review, were they
Yes, so these
incorporated
are,
in the plan?
these are the revised plans for the architectural. They're proposing a Santa Fe ash gray. Thank you, Walter.
Okay.
So the colors were added to the plan. Betsy, if you could please go back to the site plans. Sheet 5, 6 maybe, I'm not sure which one.
Some perspectives as part of their design.
One more. Yes. So one of the other requests that the DRB had was with respect to the plantings. We had proposed a row of plantings along here and as well in this area. So we provided some groupings or massings of those plantings in 3 areas, which I believe was their other request.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is the same thing we had, I talked with Rich about on Union Street. They're looking for resubmission of the final building plan and landscape documents, but a lot of times when they get that, we've already closed the meeting out and starting the approval, and we've never formally seen that. Right.
This seems pretty minor, though.
So I guess it's pretty much,
I mean, I guess it would depend on how.
it's
the
real minor,
significance of the
yeah.
comment.
So basically, the two things that they're looking for, we have just seen them on the plan ourselves, so I think that just sending the DRB as submission is just a formality if we've seen it on the plan ourselves, so that's
agree.
fine.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, Rick.
Thank you.
David, I've got your report here. I'm looking at this and I'm saying just about.
32, okay, so I think
all
you said
okay.
32.
Yeah, and some parts too.
So I was
40.
I was doing cartwheels.
Are there any other outstanding?
No, I mean, David Sanderson with the PSC, we had a discussion with the design engineer last week, and there were a couple of follow-up items, including the letter from DRB, but as of yesterday, we received everything that we had outstanding, so sorry we got this out so late, but it's a clean letter.
Any of the board have any other questions on this? Anybody in the audience? Comments? Mr. Soderberg doesn't want to comment. All right. That being said, we can close out this site plan review.
All right, I move to close out the site plan review for 1618 Sharon Ave.
That's it.
That's it, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you guys are all set.
All right, thank you.
Write everything up for you.
Good luck. Good luck, good luck, and thanks for expanding in Norfolk.
Do you have anything?
Good luck.
Let me give that back to Betsy.
For us, anything further, Rich?
Rich, back
Betsy,
to
you all
Betsy.
set with everything for us? David, thank you for coming in, appreciate it. So, if that is it, we can have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Oh.